Well, I'm super excited to have Lori Devillez here with us this morning. She's the author of a book which you have received or are going to receive, and she's also a Zig Ziglar Legacy Certified Trainer who can present on many things, including building the best you, which you're going to hear today, as well as building winning relationships and goal setting and achievement. Zig Ziglar was internationally known master motivator and trainer, and one of Zig Ziglar's most important teachings is that success is achieved when you help others. And Lori is a model of that for helping others, primarily women here in Austin as well as women around the country. Her career started as a volunteer that quickly led to leadership where she was traveling the nation, helping pregnancy resource centers around the country, training them on strategy and leadership and management techniques. But in Austin, she got a passion and a heart for the 100,000 university students here back in 1997. And she had a vision for a pregnancy resource center adjacent to the UT campus, and that was realized in January of 2005 when the Austin Pregnancy Resource Center became a reality. In March of that year, she became executive director, and since then has planted 12 more pregnancy resource centers around the country, and where she acts as the executive director. And so, Lori, we're excited to have you come share with us this morning. Come on up.
Yes. Thank you. What an honor and privilege it is to get to be with you this morning on a rainy Monday morning, right? I don't know about you. How many dog lovers do we have here this morning? Yes. Were your dogs up most of the night? I know mine was. She doesn't like thunder at all. You know, I moved to Austin in 1997, so I've gotten to be here about 20 years. And I come from Indiana, a little town, Evansville, southern Indiana, right on the edge of Kentucky. And when I moved to Austin, I realized that Texas is very different from Indiana. It didn't take me long to figure that out. My first assignment when I moved here was to find all of the pregnancy centers operating in the state of Texas and go introduce myself. Now, it sounds like an easy assignment, but for someone from Indiana, Texas is like its own country. So I purchased this Texas map and started researching, trying to find where all the centers were and plotting them on the map. I'm a very visual person. I like to see it, to really understand it. And the first director I went to meet was in New Braunfels. She's not there anymore. But I just made an observation. Did you realize that the trees here in Texas are short? And boy, did I get corrected. She said, I beg your pardon. There is nothing small in Texas. Those are big bushes. She was not kidding. And so I quickly learned Texans know about their state, and I have fallen in love with Texas, getting to be here and trying to get my family to move here, but that hasn't worked yet. But now my niece is going into her senior year of high school, so I'm working on getting her to UT. That might get the family here. Thank you for coming this morning. I wish I could go around and sit down with each one of you to get to know you, because I know people who would come out on a Monday morning with the rain as it is, that you are serious about why you're here today. And I am too. I had the awesome opportunity to get to meet the children of Zig Ziglar. Are you all familiar with Zig Ziglar? Have you heard of him? Okay. I had heard of him, but I had never gotten to hear him speak. But at the pregnancy center in 2013, our board was meeting, and we were looking at areas. We were doing a little strategic planning, and we were looking at areas that we were doing pretty well in, connecting with the area churches, connecting with area nonprofits, but we weren't doing very well with connecting with the businesses in the community. So we were thinking, well, maybe we could strengthen that area, but we didn't really know how. I don't know about you, but you know, when you kind of look at where you are and where you want to be, like last night I had a friend texting me there's some life plan things that she wanted to do, and I was sharing with her some things that I'm doing, and she came back with, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, we weren't sure how to do that. How do we get into the business world? Well, I went to a national conference for pregnancy centers in Dallas, and I get to speak with an ambassador speakers bureau, which is out of Nashville, and I was sharing with other directors at the booth about being able to come and speak at their events. And I finished my hour and I was leaving, and this lady walks in, and I hadn't met her before. And she was starting her hour at the speaker's booth. So I went back to the speaker agent and I said, who is this lady? And she said, oh, you need to meet her. This is Julie Ziglar Norman. She's Zig Ziglar's daughter. Zig Ziglar, business world, connection. So I'm like, yes, I need to meet her. Well, what do you know? We became great friends. Her father, Zig Ziglar, he passed away in 2012, in November of 2012. And Julie and her brother, Tom, and her sister, Cindy, want to keep the teachings that he took around the world out there and alive and keep it going. So they've developed a certified training program that you can apply to go through the training. It's a 1-week intense training in Dallas. And after you finish that week, then you can take his, we're going to have some of that this morning. You'll see some of the things that he taught. So I went through all of that, the training, so now I get to go and take Zig Ziglar's trainings into groups such as yours. So I hope some of the information is helpful to you this morning. I had sent to Craig a sheet that looks like this. Hopefully you've got a copy of it. This is called, one of the programs that Zig Ziglar did called Born to Win. They've developed little pins that say Born to Win. And what Zig Ziglar taught about this, and we'll look at some of the different steps, is that we live in a society that everything is so fast-paced and instant and all these things that he wanted to put a sign on the quick take the elevator up and have us take the stairs, go one step at a time. And that's one thing we teach in the Building the Best You. I love this training that Zig Ziglar did because it really helps us slow down and really analyze ourselves to building the best that we can be. You know, to have winning relationships, we first have to know ourselves, right? Find out who we are. And then going out into society to help others, it also comes out of. I was sharing at the little meeting before this meeting that I'm doing a Bible study right now on the book of Hosea and learning that when we hear the word God is love, that sounds nice and that sounds good, but what this study is teaching me is God is love, that's his being. And if I want to be like that, then my being must be the same. And it's not about how I act or any of that stuff, it has to come out of inside of me. So when you look at the different steps that Zig Ziglar identified, the first step at the bottom is character. We really have to stop and think about that in our society today. You know, used to, when you think about character, way back what we hear in the olden days where if you made an agreement, your word was good enough. The paper and all that, they didn't really even have to do. If you gave your word, then that was your character, that you would stand behind your word and be what you say you would be. So the character, I'll give you an example. About a year and a half ago, I made the decision to change from one church I was attending to another because I needed more accountability in my life and I needed more groups to meet with. But instead of just making the change, I asked to have lunch with the pastor and his wife of the church I had been attending. And of course, when we got to lunch, I could tell the pastor was expecting me to ask him for money because I'm directing the pregnancy center, and when you meet with pastors, you ask them to partner with you and that sort of thing. So when I shared with them, I just want to let you know what I'm doing so that you understand it has nothing to do with you. I love you guys. I love what you do. And that communication of taking the time to let them know, it was amazing. The pastor, he was relieved I was not asking for money. And his wife stretched across the table and said, this says so much about your character. Because so many people have just left the church, and we just hear it from different things from the streets as to why. And so now we've continued a wonderful relationship and partnership because they know from me what is going on. So that's an example of character. And then the next level of steps that Zig Ziglar gave was honesty, loyalty, and integrity. Those are some key words that sometimes get lost in our society today. And I'm encouraged that we would even have time this morning, that Craig would create the opportunity and you would allow the time to come and just talk about it. Because, I believe that as we share these things and as we talk through these things, it'll register in you as you leave, and then we can all together impact our community together by these things. But honesty, loyalty, and integrity really has a lot to do with communication, doesn't it? Communicating. There are so many things that can get miscommunicated simply because we don't talk. We don't take the time to explain. And I'm really working on myself on communication because I can cut sentences short and not say words completely. We can just get so quick trying to say things or whatever, trying to be very much more clear than how I've been to help people understand better when I'm communicating. And then I talked about love. Now more than ever, I believe our society needs to see love. It's so easy to see anger. We hear about road rage and we hear about people cutting people off and those sorts of things. But when we show love, when we put someone else before us, it's almost foreign and it stands out. Unfortunately, it's almost foreign, but it does stand out so that we can show love in a genuine way. Just a simple example, I had a neighbor move about 2 months ago, and these new people moved in. Well, I decided I would go get them a welcome to the neighborhood card and a little $25 Visa card. And when I knocked on the door, I went and rang the doorbell, had my little dog with me so we could meet them. The lady was really kind of, yes, kind of standing back. I said, oh, we live next door. This is my dog and I, we live next door. And I just wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood, get to know you a little bit, let you know if you need anything. Happy to help you here. I mean, blown away, just blown away. Matter of fact, the next day, she and her husband rang my doorbell. And they had a little thank you card and a little doggy bag for the dog. I didn't get a doggy bag, but the dog got a doggy bag. But that shows you it's so foreign. And matter of fact, when I'm walking my dog, there was a guy out working in his yard, and he had these big trees, and I've been wanting to plant a tree in my backyard. I don't have any trees in the back. And I said, hey, where did you get those trees? Well, right away, he's like, excuse me? I'm like, I'm just observing these wonderful trees that you have. Where did you get them? Oh, I work for a nursery and these were left over, and he's telling me about it. I said, well, I would love to get a tree from my backyard, and I just live down the street. He said, I've been here over a year and you're the first neighbor I've talked to. Amazing. The world that we live in. I mean, I want to know my neighbors and I want them to know me because we may need each other one day. That's showing love, right? It's just being kind and letting people know who we are. The next step is faith. I appreciate Craig letting me share a copy of my book with you. I pray it's a blessing to you. In the walk that I've had, there have been some really hard times to go through. And I don't know about you, but if we're in a room this size, we've all probably had to walk through something difficult. Well, it's been my faith that's helped me through, and that book is really like a journal of some of the things that I've gotten to walk through. I say gotten to walk through now because it's really grown me to help me to be more of the person I want to be. But there are many, many examples in that book of where there is no explanation, but God was there. And I want to be able to share that to encourage people that you don't walk alone. We are all here for each other, and as we reach out in faith, and that's what I was sharing with my friend last night, God is there. The next step becomes an important step, especially as we work at the Pregnancy Resource Centers on self-image. Seeing ourselves with value. Getting to work with a lot of the university students, they were really struggling with this step on where is my value? Do I have value? If I don't have value, how do I value you? And then how do you value others? How do we value our communities? So the self-image of how we see ourselves and where we find the roots of how we see ourselves and how we grow. It's, like I was sharing with another friend, I can remove expectations from you, meaning I don't have expectations of other people for things that I need. When I know who I am and I have my faith in who I serve, it frees me up, and it frees you up. You can just be yourself, and there are no expectations. And it really freed this friend up because she's had so many friends that put rules on her and checklists and conditions where, as I shared with Craig, as that he was making all the changes with the rooms and everything this morning, I learned a long time ago, my middle name is Flo. I just flow. I don't get all upset. It's not a problem. Matter of fact, I know if something changes, then there's another opportunity somewhere else. Now see how, when he called me last week, he said, I hope it's all right. We can't do your PowerPoint. We're going to be in this room. No problem. I'll just talk. And then, get here this morning, guess what? We got moved back to the big room. You know what? It's okay. No problem. So, in that way, we just enjoy life, going through life. But having that self-image step, knowing, a lot of people, they're still struggling with where's the foundation, and if there's a change, they might get really upset. So, and understanding that, again, that's a communication. Relationship with others. When we understand who we are, and we walk in love, and we have our foundation, that gives a lot of room for others, right? In working with others. The people that we work with at the pregnancy center many times have really, really hard issues to face. Many of our clients are living in tents along the Mar, or they're living in their cars with their children. They're scared. They don't know where to go or what to do. And you get into that survival mode, right? And so you got to take care of yourself and your children. And I understand that. But helping them to see as they come in to receive our services, that they don't have to be in that fight, that we will help and come alongside and help them. That way that helps them with their relationships with others. Goals. This is a huge one. When we talk about, say, the end of the year, and we get into January, and we have all these things on the news, or not news, but commercials, advertisements about getting to the gym and getting that holiday extra off, which I'm working on right now, and setting goals, right? And that's a good thing. And what Zig Ziglar taught is to write your goals down. Make them visible. Every end of year, usually third, fourth week in December, or the first week in January, I have a whiteboard in my bathroom at home. And I will put the year up there, and then I'll start looking at what are my goals for this year. My vision board is what it's called, but I set my goals. Put them up there so that they're in front of me every day when I'm getting ready. But the other thing is, I have my personal goals, and then I have the goals for the organization. But an area that people, I think, forget about is to have an area whenever those goals are fulfilled, so that you can track that you're making progress. And that's what out of that's where my book came, because I tracked what I wanted to do, I tracked when it happened, so that it's an encouragement, not only to me, but to others. And so writing those goals down, and what they say in when you see the advertisements is so many people set these goals, but within 3 or 4 weeks, they forget what their goals are, right? They go back to their routine. And what is that phrase? I forget who said it. But if you keep doing the same thing the same way, you can't expect a different result, right? So even for me, I decided I was getting a little lazy this summer, getting too comfortable with myself. So just last week, I made some new goals and I wrote them down. I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock every morning. This is what Ziglar did. I'm going to go exercise. So I walk my dog, but I'm also doing an extra 30 minutes on the treadmill. And what Ziglar did is he called it BAM. He would walk around the block, and then he would add a mailbox. Block and a mailbox, BAM. That's what he called it. But he pushed himself on the exercising, and that's what, I don't know about you, but my body doesn't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and my body doesn't want to get on the treadmill. But each time that I get on, I'll go maybe a minute more. Do what you can do, but it's what I'm doing, and then I'll make it go just one more number faster and one more incline higher. So just in this past 7 days, I've already lost 8 pounds. So the body's recognizing something's different, and guess what? I have more energy, I'm feeling better. So that's just one goal. The other goal is, here's where I was getting lazy. I don't know why I did that this summer, but I did. I started going to bed at 7 o'clock in the evening. Now, I'm confessing to you because I want your accountability. You see me in the next 6 months, ask me, what time are you going to bed? Except if I have a meeting in the evening. And so I told a friend, and she's like, well, maybe it's because of all the stuff that you're walking through. Emotionally, maybe you're tired. I said, no. I'm not going to let myself get that way. Other people, if you need to, she was talking about someone else and she goes to bed early. I'm like, I'm not talking about her, I'm talking about me. And I believe I've let myself get lazy. So I'm making myself stay up till 10. So I'm reading, so I'm stretching my brain. I'm finding books to read. Zig Ziglar has wonderful books to read on goal setting, on sales, if any of you are in sales. He has one of the best sales book that's still being out there today. I think Sell Like a Pro or something, see you at the top. He's got some great materials. I've read through all of them. So those are some goals that I'm doing right now, writing them down. And then I found 2 people, and this is what Zig Ziglar would call a life plan. This is life, and I'm planning it. But then to get 2 people who hold me accountable. Once or twice a week, they'll check in on me. So are you still doing, what we talked about, whatever. And this is what I was sharing with a friend who called me last night, because she said her life was miserable. She was contacting her 2 ex-husbands to see if she could go back to one of the men, that kind of thing. Her youngest child just left the house, so she's empty nest, all this stuff. And she just felt miserable. And I was telling her, I said again, I felt I was getting distracted in things that I was doing in my life. So I wrote down these goals, and I'm holding to it. And I was sharing for her, maybe she might want to do the same thing. And we were going back and forth for a while, but at the end of the conversation, she said she was going to go and write down her goals. And I told her I'd be one of her accountability partners. But we need each other. So I just say this, don't try to walk the goals alone. I need people holding me accountable. Being single, living with the dog, it's easy to, I could just sleep in today. No. Well, the dog doesn't let me, number one. I have her on a schedule now, so when it's 5 o'clock, she'll go woof, 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 woof. I'm like, what? Yeah, time to get up. So the goals are really, really important. I don't remember the percentage when we went through the training, but it was a high percentage of people, first of all, don't set goals, but second of all, don't write them down, and then don't have the accountability to accomplish them. So goals are really important. Attitude will make or break. I hired somebody back in April to be our director of operations, and the attitude was horrible. Within the first week, I knew we had trouble. How we got past the interview, I don't know. I had 3 board members help me interview. But I was sharing with the board, I will take someone with less skill and good attitude any day. It is too important to have a bad attitude. Julie will tell you, if she was here, growing up with her dad being Zig Ziglar, the most positive person around, or she would say in the world to her, she didn't wake up to an alarm clock, she woke up to an opportunity clock. And when it was the weekend, it was not the weekend, it was the strong end. We're going to have a strong end today. And it was not a stoplight, it was a go light. It's how you look at it. So even, when you see that, when you hear, is this half full or half empty? As people, the way Zig Ziglar would see it, it's overflowing. It's not either one. It's an overflowing day filled of blessings. And really, that's what the scripture tells us to do too, right? To take our thoughts captive and to turn them. That's what really impacts us on how we see our world. And so I had to really retrain myself, because our society and the way we talk negative. Think about it. I love you to death. Well, why don't you love me to life? Yeah, see? It's that simple of turning it. And there are exercises that we go through when you're being certified, where they give you the negative statement that we've all heard, and then they challenge you, what's the positive side? How can you say that positive? And it's really important in our communication skills when we're talking with one another, because when we learn to talk with one another, we learn the words that are aggressive or assertive. We don't want to be doormats where people just run all over us. But at the same time, we want to be professional, and we want to speak in such a way that people want to do whatever we need accomplished. So instead of saying, you messed up and you need, I perceive that we could do this a different way. Why don't we talk about this? And see how it's the same, talking about the same topic, but using different words so that it doesn't put a person on defense. I had a training in Seguin on Friday, and after the training, it was with a board of directors for a nonprofit. After the training, I went to tour the center with the director. And we were debriefing a little bit. What did you think of the meeting? Was it helpful for you? That sort of thing. And she said, well, I got a little short with one of the board members, and she needs to learn how to communicate. And that was the exact thing that she said. Because she kept saying, well, to the director, well, you need to do that. Well, you need to do that. And she's like, I do everything. She needs to do that, So the communication of, maybe she could have said, that's a great idea. Maybe we as a team should look at doing that, instead of making the director feel like she was either not doing up to her job or had to do it all. Makes a big difference. Just one kind word can carry someone for a long time. We all get corrected. I know I do all the time. When you have 30 volunteers that come and go in a week, they like to tell you what I can do. And I love on every one of them, realizing where they are. If we can understand when people are communicating, they're communicating from where they are. And to learn, what I'm really working on, learning to really be an active listener. What is important to that person? What are they really communicating to me that I can do to meet what it is that's important to them? So if the communication, the attitude, I got off on communication a little bit with attitude, but I think attitude, the way we see, and really putting ourselves through exercises. I get in front of the mirror and review my vision board, but then I'm also exercising my mind, and that self-talk, talking to, I try to say it's to the dog, but it's really to me, on preparing myself for the day and having the right attitude, and instead of I have to go to work, I get to go to work. The difference of, how we say things and our attitude toward it. And then, of course, work. Zig Ziglar, when he would talk about work, he would talk about how, and I've always been this way too, when I go to a place or I do something, I want to leave it better than I found it. if I'm traveling and I'm in a hotel, I want to leave that hotel better than I found it. When that maid walks in, I don't want her to have to do a whole lot, and I leave her a nice tip, because she's working hard and finding all kinds of stuff in those rooms. So, and I've taught that to my niece. She's now 17, but even at 13, we had her 13th birthday party at one of the hotels with her friends, and I heard her, we had one of those adjoining rooms, so the young people were in one room, the adults were in the other, and the next morning I heard her telling her friends, you need to go ahead and pick everything up because we need to leave it better than we found it. That's at 13. So training people around us to do the same thing, it really speaks to people. Let's see. And then desire, and that really goes with our self-image. If we don't have a really good self-image, don't see the world in a positive way, don't see the opportunity, we won't have a lot of desire to do a lot of stuff. So having a desire, and then that leads to hope and family and peace and friends and security, helps us to be prosperous, healthy, happy, and to a new tomorrow. So these are just the steps that Zig Ziglar would teach. Any thoughts or questions on that? Need a little more coffee this morning? Okay. All right. So when you think about it, I want to throw this question out to you. Who do you think is successful? If you think of, who comes to your mind when that question is thrown out? Who would you say is successful? Anybody come to mind? Pardon me?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay. Mark Zuckerberg, that's the Facebook person, right? Okay. I'm learning the social media stuff. Okay, that's a good one.
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter, okay.
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham, okay. Okay, yes.
My grandmother.
Your grandmother, okay.
She was the most godly woman I knew,
Mm.
and she did all of these.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. Okay. All right. So the next question is a little what you answered. What are the qualities that make them successful?
We have a microphone, raise your hand if you want to talk.
Yeah, she's carrying the microphone around if you want to say anything. There's one back there.
Where are we?
Long-range perspective.
Okay.
Jimmy Carter, for example, was looking at peace and long-term, not just what can I do during my administration to get credit for.
That's good. That's good. So really like leaving a legacy, right? Carrying it forward.
When I think of successful, I think of my dad, who served 50 years in law enforcement.
Mm.
And as a sheriff, his goal was always what is best for this community, what is best for the families involved in incarceration, how can I serve the people who work for me. But his goals were always geared towards how do I help my community to be better. So it was outward focused, not inward focused.
Mm. That's good. Okay.
I think people are successful when what they say matches what they do.
Mhm. And that's exactly where my 17-year-old niece is. I just got to spend a week with her, going into her senior year, and she's now dating a guy, and she says, Aunt Lo, he's a Christian. I'm like, well, what does that mean? And she said, he lives what he says. Yeah.
My niece Tammy has raised 5 incredible kids.
Hmm. Okay. It's back here.
A lot of successful people are passionate about what they do.
Mm.
So when they're doing what they love, when they're doing what they're committed to, then they're likely to be successful.
That's good. Got to believe in it. Let me tell you, the young people for sure, if you don't believe in it, they know it right away. There's one right here.
I would say successful people are have a lot of endurance.
Mm,
They don't give up,
yes.
even when difficult things happen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there are a lot of people, like I said, that we've tried to hire at the pregnancy center. It may look like an easy job, but nobody knows what I have to do to make sure that things get done. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Got one exercise I want to do here coming up. Yes, ma'am.
I think successful people are willing to do the extra things that other people are not willing to do. They're willing to go the extra mile, work the extra hours, get up at 5 o'clock.
Yep. Yep. All right. Very good. Well, this next, I want to do a little exercise here in just a moment. We're going to talk about sources of input. When I went through the training at Ziglar, they had us draw a circle, and they gave us a few minutes to draw lines on where we spend our time, kind of a little bit of time management. And after we did our little pie, they had us rate, is this positive for you or is it negative input? So where I'm spending my time, is it building me up or is it being negative where it's not building me up? This was in September of 2013. I did this little exercise. I went back in November to finish the certification. We did the exercise again. And I just share this exercise with you because I continue to do it to really analyze where am I spending my time, how am I spending my time, and is it positive or negative? Is it moving me toward my goals that I've now established, or is it distracting me, which is what I found myself doing this summer, being distracted. And what do you know, when I did this in September of 2013, and this was the exercise that helped me look at where I was, the most negative time, where I was spending a lot of my time, and it was negative, when I really had to be honest about it, was with my church. When I was there, I was getting to be where this was an expectation, where I didn't really want to do it. My heart wasn't there anymore. So that's when I decided, when I went back and looked at it again, I was like, the only thing that will make this different is if I make a change. And that's what we were talking about. If we do the same thing the same way, we can't expect a different result. So I had to make a change. So when we look at positive or negatives in our lives, the sources of input, the next step is looking at, and this is why she's passing out a blank piece of paper. And I'd like to take just 3 minutes, really brief time, and have you write down, when you think about, it might be now, it might be something many years ago, but anything that comes to your mind that's negative, that maybe you've been told, maybe you've thought about of yourself, maybe something you've been in, whatever. But just write it down. Nobody's going to see it. We're not going to share it. I just want you to identify some of those things and write them down on this blank piece of paper. I'll give you about 3 minutes, and then I'll tell you the next step of the exercise. Okay, did y'all get a pretty good list? Some negative things. Now this is the fun part of the next part of the exercise. Everything that you have on that paper, then I want you to wad it up. You can wad it up, and what we're going to do is throw it as far as you can. This is the fun part. You going to get this on video? All right, ready? You ready to throw it? 1, 2, 3. All right. Hey, good shot. I love it. So this is an exercise called Dump It. So when you put those negative things on there and you throw it, it's no longer in your life, right? So we're going to replace it now with positives. So whatever you have on those papers that have been dumped, then I want you to write down what are those positive things that I can say about myself or change from where I've come from to where I want to be or where I am today. What would be here's an example that we have on the paper here. I'm always late. When people say I'm always late, how can we fix that? What can we change about that statement? How can we change where we're not always late? Plan better. Make a difference by how we plan so that we're not always late. Has there been lots of examples about what it means when you're late, right? It's not really being respectful of the people that when you show up to be late. Now there are reasons, and I know what happens. But if somebody says, I'm always late, what does that mean, and how can we change it? Some examples of that. I really believe our words are very important. We talked about that, but talking to one another, lifting each other up, giving good report, giving an encouraging word much instead of a negative word. So when you see someone and you go, I'm so excited to see that person because I know they're going to be encouraging to me and have positive things to say and positive things that we can talk about. It's real important. The words. Scripture does talk about that a lot, about our words. Our words bring life or they bring death. They either... I have a picture, and if I did do the PowerPoint, it'd be on there. It's of a little boy, and it's like he's got hands around his neck, and on those hands it talks about all the things he's been told. The women that we see, when they come in, many times we'll do a sonogram with them, show them their baby, let them hear the heart beating, and then we'll talk about the value of that baby. You know, the scripture tells us that we are all beautifully and wonderfully made. We are all made with purpose. And that's what I love talking with young people too, because what is your purpose? Discovering that. What is it? But the things on that picture of the hands and around that little boy's neck are what a lot of our clients hear. And maybe some of you have heard in your lifetime here today, in that you're a mistake. You should have never been born. I don't know why you're here. Many of them will cry when we tell them they have purpose, that they're beautifully and wonderfully made. It's not just you were created. No, you were beautifully and wonderfully made, every one of you. I just discovered a nest of birds out my entryway at my house. There's a little curve and there's some brick there. These birds have created a beautiful nest for their babies. Well, I've discovered that birds are also really messy. Because the mama bird sits on that nest and she's dropping stuff in my entryway. And I was fussing about it and I caught myself. When I walk my dog, I say a lot of things to God and to the dog. And I'm just saying, these birds, they're really messy. Now, I like the babies. They hold their mouth open. The mom puts the food in and everything. And what came to my mind is God cares even for the birds. Because a little baby bird fell out of the nest, and it was down on the sidewalk, and it was trying to, and I looked up online to call one of the bird places. I don't know anything about birds. And one lady said, put the baby back in the nest. I'm like, I don't know about this. And the other one said, no, the mama bird knows if there's something wrong. Because I kept saying, why doesn't the mama bird get the baby bird? It's been there all day. So I'm learning a lot about birds, not by choice, but anyway, trying to be positive about it. But just knowing our value. If God cares so much about the little birds and knows when they fall, he says, how much more valuable are you than the birds? So wherever you are, at whatever walk or stage of life that you are, know that you are very, very much cared for and valued by your Creator. And you are beautifully and wonderfully made. And I believe we're at the time that he said, 9:50, right? No? We're good? I don't want to go over. Are there any questions or any thoughts that have come up from today. One thing on your paper, number 14, we covered everything here. This number 14 talks about the bumblebee. I think it's interesting. The way that the bumblebee is designed, it's not designed to fly. But the bumblebee doesn't know that, so it's able to fly. I think that's really creative. I've had a lot of people say, I couldn't do what you do. I don't understand. There's just no way. And for me, I don't see this huge thing. I just see what needs to be done, and I go do it. So it's kind of like the bumblebee. If I saw all the things and all the restrictions and all, I probably couldn't do it. But I don't see that. So it's really what we see and what lies ahead of us and knowing our value that we can move forward. So I appreciate your time getting to be here today. I really pray that you have a wonderfully blessed day today and are able to get out of this, what Craig is doing to move you forward. And if we can serve you in any way, just let me know. My contact information is on the back of my book.